What is the single biggest dick move in all of history? France asking Haiti for a compensation after Haiti overthrew the colonial administration. It took 143 years for Haiti to pay off that debt. When the Mexican government rounded up thousands of Yaqui natives, made them walk over 300 kilometers to the coast, put them on boats, and sold them as slaves for about 25 cents. Most ended up on plantations in Veracruz where they were worked to death. Slavery was already illegal in Mexico at the time. Opium wars were pretty dickish. You don't want to buy hard drugs from us and turn your population into useless addicts? Fine. We'll invade you and bombard your cities until you start buying. That woman scorned who killed fucking everybody. Hang about, all Google it. Saint Olga of Kiev. After her husband, the prince, was tortured and murdered by dissidents, Drevlian, she got vengeance by buried alive the first messengers, burned, boiled alive the second set of messengers, had a funeral feast for her late husband which included Drevlians, and then had 5,000 of them killed. After a year-long siege, Olga said, "Give me 3 pigeons and 3 sparrows from each house." The Drevlians rejoiced at the prospect of the siege ending for so small a price, and did as she asked. Olga then instructed her army to attach a piece of sulfur bound with small pieces of cloth to each bird. At nightfall, Olga told her soldiers to set the pieces aflame and release the birds. They returned to their nests within the city, which subsequently set the city ablaze. There was not a house that was not consumed, and it was impossible to extinguish the flames, because all the houses caught fire at once. As the people fled the burning city, Olga ordered her soldiers to catch them, killing some of them and giving the others as slaves to her followers. She left the remnant to pay tribute. It's a fine line between total dick move and badass on this one. Edit. Wow, this blew up. Went to sleep and 22k upvotes later. I read through every direct reply and about 50% said dick move and 50% said badass. A whole slab want the Netflix show, Game of Thrones spin-off. Many pointed out it's possibly not true. And finally, this tattoo that, parasithium is on topic and totally sweet. Thomas Midgley invented Freon and putting lead into gasoline. He knew that putting lead into gasoline was a dick move and he did it anyway for money. He knew because he got lead poisoning himself and still lied about its effects on people. Environmental historians have said that he has had the single largest impact on the Earth's atmosphere of any single organism in the history of the planet. Not to mention that lead levels directly correspond to lower cognitive abilities in the general population, and you can look up the dates to know who would have been affected. Probably when they relocated Rasputin slong from his body to that jar. Well, not really relevant, but when 50 Cent bought the first 4 rows of a Ja Rule concert. And Ya had to perform in front of 4 empty rows. Lol. Those motherfuckers evolving to suck mammal blood, and now we got to worry about mosquitoes, leeches, ticks, etc. Your pet leaving your room after you carried them in. Hitler killing Hitler and thus not giving everyone else the satisfaction of doing so. Around the formation of the Persian Empire, Herodotus tells the story how King Astyages, the last king of Media, had a dream that his daughter would give birth to a king who would overthrow him. So he orders his general Harpagus to kill the child at birth. Harpagus doesn't want to kill the baby, spill royal blood. So he gives the child, Cyrus, to a shepherd to raise. 10 years later Cyrus is discovered alive. King Astyages fakes being happy that the kid is alive, suggesting he always regretted issuing that order. To celebrate he plans a feast and tells Harpagus to send his son over to play with Cyrus. During the banquet, King Astyages has the son of Harpagus killed, cooked, and fed to Harpagus. When the act was revealed, it is said that Harpagus did not react other than to gather the pieces of his son and remove them for burial. Harpagus bides his time. Much later, Cyrus is gathering forces against King Astyages. Astyages orders Harpagus, as his primary general, to lead the army against Cyrus. After a 3-day battle, Harpagus took his revenge for the death of his son by turning on the battlefield in favor of Cyrus, resulting in Astyages' defeat and the formation of the Persian Empire. Compulsory edit. My first award, thanks kind stranger. That time a fish evolved legs and crawled out of the ocean. Things just went downhill from there. Before 1965, Indonesian government sent academicians, especially STEM graduates, to study in Eastern Europe. After the supposed communist uprising in the 30th of September 1965, the government revoked their citizenship and declared them stateless. They risked persecution and possible torture and murder if they insist on returning. These nuclear physicist, master engineer, and PhD graduates take menial jobs, becoming janitors and wait tables to carry on living with virtually no possibility of return to their country. P.S. I'm adding some reading to anyone who are interested. Edit. Grammar plus reading material. The original white elephant gifting from the King of Siam. This person would give this royal gift to people he found irritating and be entertained by the recipient's failing efforts to upkeep such an animal. Why don't they just give it away, you ask? Back in the day, receiving a gift and giving it away was perceived as an insult. Go figure. And giving away a gift from a neighboring kingdom is, well, that much bigger of an insult. So no dice. Economies apparently have failed in order to upkeep a royal gift like this. Honestly. Dick move King of Siam. Edit. I'm seeing some comments about giving away the elephant, killing it, or letting it die, so I'm going to clarify something. If you are given a gift, out of respect you take care of that gift, because failing to do so would be taken as an insult from the gifting party. The King of Siam knew this and, for his pleasure, gave his opposing neighbors this annoyance of an animal, an ultimatum. Either fulfill the upkeep of this economy-sucking, worthless elephant, or I come invade your kingdom and slaughter you and your people. Being as powerful as he seemed to be, he probably sent delegations to these provinces to ensure the elephant was still around for years to come. LPT. Keep that elephant alive. Ray Kroc stealing McDonald's out from under the brothers and not even paying them royalties. That lady who stole the unborn baby out the other lady. When a British officer was talking to Robert Surcouf, he said, "We British fight for honor. You French fight only for gain." To which Surcouf replied saying, "You are quite right. Each fights for that which he does not possess." Edit. It was Surcouf who originally roasted an English captain with this one. It wasn't Napoleon who originally said it. Merely paraphrased. Edit 2. Removed Napoleon and Russian. When God told Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac, and right when Isaac was begging for his life and his dad was about to drive a knife into his chest, God said, "Psych. I got you good, bro. Kill that ram over there instead." Russia telling Ukraine to give up their nukes for peaceful independence, only for Russia to take back Crimea a couple decades later. So the story goes that there's this people in southern Iraq whose agriculture, economy and way of living were built around them living within the swamps. They were not very fond of Saddam Hussein and his regime and did a protest march towards Baghdad. So meanwhile they moved towards the capital. Saddam took some excavators and drained the whole swamp. Problem solved. ISIS and/or whatever Muslim or Asian group in power, going through ancient temples and destroying millennia-old statues and works of art simply because they represent a different philosophy. The thought of destroying some 2,000-year-old statue just because I don't believe in their philosophy is beyond criminal to me. It is a crime against all of humanity. I mean, who the fuck are you to think you are so important you can destroy something so valuable? Edit. My apologies. Didn't mean to single out Muslims or infer ISIS as synonymous with all Muslims. The only examples that came to mind for me were the Middle East and Asia, since so much has been destroyed there. I will freely acknowledge Christians have also done their share of this bullshit as well. And I saw the Australian example that happened just this decade. Man. We fucking humans suck, sad face. The burning of the Library of Alexandria. Trojan horse. The Japanese believed it would have been dishonorable to surprise attack an unexpected enemy. So they sent a declaration of war to the US 30 minutes before the Pearl Harbor attack. However, the upper military brass delayed that message until 20 minutes after the attack had begun. Dick moved to both sides of the conflict there. Edit. I meant the Japanese upper brass delayed the message, not the US one. The US was caught completely off guard as they were expecting sabotage, not a full-scale offensive. Mao Zedong's Cultural Revolution. Basically Mao's return to power after the failure of the Great Leap Forward and an opportunity to purge political rivals. The Cultural Revolution is estimated to have killed another 20 million. On top of the 30 million from the famine that followed the Great Leap Forward. Russian army pushing Hitler back across Europe. Get to the outskirts of Warsaw and broadcast in Polish to have all the men in the city join the fight. Cue large uprising. Russia holds back until all the men in the city are killed, so there's nobody left to resist when they occupy. And then resume pushing Hitler back across Europe. Edit source as requested. I always thought the Fed putting Andrew Jackson on the $20 felt like a big fuck you since he hated the idea of a centralized bank. Brutus pretending to be Caesar's best friend and then literally stabbing him in the back. Philip of Macedonia threatened the Spartans, "If I invade Laconia, you will be destroyed and never rise again." The Spartans replied with, "If." Having an overseas girlfriend. Haven't been able to meet for 8 months. Being desperate to be reunited during Corona only to find out to see her getting engaged with another dude. Edit. Thanks all for the support and thanks for the rewards. As you might suspect, I'm absolutely devastated by this, but I'll also get over it in time. Prince Albert actually moving his supposedly massive dick inside Queen Victoria. He basically fathered a bloodline that caused every bit of upset in the early 20th century. If it wasn't for his massive dick moving, there would have been no First World War. The ape who decided being a complex being was a good idea. IDK man. The Holocaust seemed pretty bad. Having different measurement system across the world. And also different types of sockets. Making the woman who had her labia melted together due to McDonald's not wanting to give people refills. Look like a thieving bitch because she was in the right and only wanted her medical bills paid. Edit. Thank you for the award. Kind stranger. Putting your fishing boats to the coast of other countries because you already fished everything in your country's surrounding sea. Late. But forcing Alan Turing to take hormones to cure his homosexuality. That's dickish in general. But especially after all his help in cracking intercepted messages during World War II and helped the Allies defeat the Nazis. In the beginning was the creation of the universe. This has made a lot of people angry. And has been widely regarded as a bad move. My fuck-ass cat was on the couch this morning, so I went to cuddle with him and the asshole tries to leave as soon as I get there. The white American conquest over the native populations is probably a strong contender. A large majority of Native American tribes were quite welcoming of newcomers in need. There's an entire holiday about being thankful for the kindness and the generosity of the Native Americans. In return, they were gifted with smallpox and other lethal diseases. Had every one of their treaties ignored, and were wiped out whenever they tried to complain about it. Had their primary prey species deliberately hunted to extinction. Had their culture reduced to primitive shamanism and a few totemic symbols. And those that weren't killed outright were forcibly marched across the continent to poorer land in an even known as the fucking Trail of Tears. In terms of deaths, several seemingly simple events triggered WW1. That's 40M deaths that a sandwich sale or an auto mechanic, or even a grandma could have averted. Many world leaders were related. And several said if their grandmother was still alive she would have put a stop to it before it spread. WW1 lead to WW2. China's Great Leap Forward had about 30M direct deaths and another 20M or so indirect deaths. On smaller scales, history is littered with betrayal and intrigue. Who knows what treasures were lost? And what discoveries and inventions we don't have because of them? Do we not have flying cars and hoverboards due to some greedy jerk? Was world peace and global lives of ease lost because somebody made a dick move? We may never know. When Nani tried to steal Cristiano Ronaldo's goal and got it ruled out for offside. It's hilarious even if you don't like football, soccer. Make sure you watch the second angle, 035, so you can see just how bad this was. Mother Teresa made children suffer because she thought suffering was more Christ-like than healing. Those goddamn Mongolians. The Columbine and Sandy Hook shooters. Fuck those guys. Making a free-to-play game in the App Store, but making it so you have to buy things to be able to continue the game. Treaty of Versailles. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified about future videos. Now check out one of these interesting videos.